Good evening, viewers, and welcome yet again to our program, Frankly Speaking. As you will know by now, this is a program that is intended for you, the viewer, to, if you will, come to our studio and talk to us frankly about any subject that you may wish to share with other viewers. Today, we will be discussing mental illness and very specifically schizophrenia. Perhaps viewers out there will be surprised by the thought that 8.7% of the total burden of illness in the world is caused by various forms of mental illness. This 8.7% is in reality much more important in terms of its cost to society than tuberculosis, cancer, heart disease, and many other common diseases. There are many types of misconceptions that we will try and deal with this evening relating to mental illness in general. For example, people are of the wrong view that mental illnesses are very difficult or sometimes impossible to define. Some people believe that the suffering of mental illness is a sign that that individual is weak. Others believe quite strongly that there are no effective treatments for mental illnesses. In 1985, it was estimated that 23 million people suffer from schizophrenia, indicating that this is a very common illness in all communities. Those are many figures that I have given you. To get away from those numbers, I have with me this evening a lady who has agreed to come to our studios to speak to us frankly about this and other conditions. I have with me Mrs. Lillian. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, you've heard all those numbers that I have given to our listeners. But before we get down to numbers, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, Mrs. Kanaya?
First of all, before I give my name, I would like to congratulate you on starting this very wonderful program called Frankly Speaking.
I'm hoping you will speak frankly also.
I am a believer of speaking frankly, so I am looking forward to the opportunity to speak frankly. I'm Lillian Kanaya. I represent the young, the middle-aged, as well as the very old ones, because I've been around for quite some time. I am a professional nurse, and I am a mother of 4 young adults. 2 of them, the first who is 38, suffer from schizophrenia, and the youngest one who is 30 also suffer from schizophrenia. And the 2 who are in the middle, I refer to them as career girls.
Okay,
and
good.
I'm happy to be here.
You're happy to be here. Now, before we come to your children, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about yourself growing up. And I see from the paper you have given me here that you went to Alliance High School in 1951.
Yes, you are right. And that's a long time ago when education for girls was very behind. But fortunately for me, I had parents, or a father, and a father who was very interested in education. And so he encouraged me to go to school, educated me, and that's why I...
What was life like at Alliance in 51?
Life
I'm trying to picture you as a little girl.
A little.
Yes,
life at Alliance was very exciting, and it was an eye-opener to me. For example, I did not know why it was being called African Girls High School. But then later on, I realized that during those colonial days, Europeans had their own schools, and Africans had their own schools. But I found it very, very interesting. I liked games very much, netball, and I was very happy whenever we had competitions.
Do you remember any one of the girls who was in your class? Where are they? What are they doing?
Yes, I remember very well. A certain friend of mine, Wairimu Nyoike, many of the viewers may know her as the matron of the Kenyatta National Hospital, and many others who are still going on.
Going on strong. Okay. Yeah. After that, you went on to medical training college, trained as a nurse. Tell us about your training as a nurse.
Yeah, that was also another very big challenge, because at the time, coming to do a course in Nairobi was not very welcome by many people. But nevertheless, with the encouragement of my parents, I came. And what interested me most was to see that amongst our teachers were European sisters from Britain.
Wow.
And from other countries.
Yes.
And we and myself and others found very interesting to be taught by them.
Why? Why was that interesting?
Because they were speaking English in
through their nose.
Through their nose.
Yes.
In a very interesting way.
Yes.
I found that they were very professional, although maybe you understand what that means. You know, the uniform, the white cap, the white uniform, and the professionality in it of punctuality. They were very keen on us being very punctual. Yes.
Okay, now that was during the emergency, 55, 56, and so on. What was your experience with the emergency as a young girl?
With the emergency, it was just bewildering, and especially this business of us having to be kept in the nurse's home, not going out. And if you wanted to go even to your own parents, you had to get a pass. But I'll never forget one time I went by train from Nairobi to Kikuyu.
By train?
By train, imagine, yes.
My goodness me.
To go to my home, which is at Keno.
Okay.
And I had to get a pass, which I managed to get. And viewers who are policemen will forgive me, but this policeman who was asking me for an ID or a pass was reading it, looking at it upside down. And I noticed that, and I wondered, does this policeman know how to read? And that is, that I remember.
Any other memories of the emergency?
The other one was when we were taken for screening.
Screening? Being
asked whether we belonged to Mau Mau, whatever. Yeah. And we were taken somewhere, I think Nairobi, Wilson Airport, and we were all huddled together in a cage, and we were looked at, and we were asked a few questions, and then we were, but luckily for me, I was not, there were some who were detained, but luckily for me, I was not detained. I was asked to go back to the nurse's home.
You qualify for the label freedom fighter.
Well, thank you. Yeah. In a small way.
What do you mean a small way? This is just modesty coming out again.
In a small way, because I realized then that there was a lot to be done for us to get freedom from that kind of life, from getting passes when you're going to your own home. I thought that was quite odd.
And that is, Keno is just what, 15 kilometers from here?
Kilometers from here, yes.
And you still needed to have a pass to allow you to go and see your mother?
Yes. Yes. And more than that, you see, my wedding was in 57. It was just around that time. Even for that, we had to get a pass. And
you had to get a pass to get married?
To get married, to move away from Nairobi to go to Kikuyu.
Yes.
And all that was quite a problem.
This is a program about Frankly Speaking.
Yes.
Tell us about your wedding day.
The wedding day was exciting, except for the mishap where the policemen again stopped us from going to church, asking us, where are you going? Have you got a pass to go to church at Kikuyu? And whose car? By the way, we didn't have our own car then, but we hired. My husband was good enough to hire a taxi. So we were being driven. I was not with him in the car, of course. He was at church by then, waiting for me. And although I liked being punctual that day, and I would not have liked
You're still punctual.
to be unpunctual on my wedding day.
Okay.
Those police people who kept us on the road made us late for a whole hour. Except I'm happy for the late Dr. Mwavi is the one who came to find out what we are doing, and I don't know what he told the policemen. They let our car go, and then we went, and then the wedding bells rang, and then we said our vows. It was good.
And here you are.
And here I am.
But before getting here, you went through School of Nursing.
Yeah.
I see here you went to Secretarial College in London. You went to... Tell us a little bit about how you got to be here as a nurse.
To be a nurse is because it was my own choice. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy.
I was thinking more of the courses. I see you went to Secretarial College. Mm-hmm. And...
Mm-hmm. Yes, my husband, who was by then working in Makerere University as a librarian, got a sabbatical leave to go to UK, and that was an opportunity for me to do something. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do nursing there at that time. In 1960s. That's how I went to do secretarial course.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it has become handy. It was handy, and it is still handy to me.
Are you trying to tell us the viewers that you can type?
I can, yes, I can type.
Yes. That's excellent. Your CV is very long and very complicated. Just one thing that sticks out for me is a time when you were the chief executive or registrar of the Nursing Council of Kenya. That was in 60?
Yes, that was in from 1967 to 1984. Okay. It's a long, long time.
It is. Tell us about that. What did you do?
The Nursing Council itself is a body that regulates nursing practice in the country. It lays down the nursing standard in terms of education, examination, and legislation. So it covers a wide field. Whenever I give lectures on the functions of the Nursing Council, it will take a whole hour. So I won't attempt to do that. But it is something about standards of nursing in the country.
Okay. One other thing that stands out here is how much you've traveled from Hamburg to Israel. Tell us about your traveling.
Thank you. Those are also very exciting. And sometimes I fear people might start calling me a globe-trotter. But they have all been of purposes. For example, the one of Hamburg was because I had been invited by the World Fellowship for Schizophrenia and Allied Disorders to attend their conference in Hamburg. So I went, and I'm happy to be part of that body also.
In fact, that brings us very nicely to another area of our discussion for now, which is your experiences, personal experiences and knowledge about schizophrenia. Yeah. What do you wish to?
What I have learned regarding schizophrenia has helped me to cope, because I mentioned about having that illness in the home, has helped me in coping with the illness, and has opened my mind into seeing that most of the problem that we face as families are because of ignorance about the illness, and how to cope with it and what to expect about dealing with with the doctors.
Okay, go on, we're listening.
With the doctors, with the health institutions, with the government, with the legal aspects of it, and also the very need for, in Kenya, of an advocacy body to cater for the mental ill so that they can get a good quality of life.
Let's go back.
Yes.
Let's go back home. Yes?
Yes.
You say you have 2 young adults who have schizophrenia. Tell us a little bit about what it is like.
Well, to begin with, it is bewildering. You see somebody who has been very well, and then all of a sudden their behavior change. Sometimes they are very active, sometimes they are withdrawn. You just wonder. And then when you get to the doctor and they tell you, sometimes the doctors don't tell you, but they're not very frank, by the way.
Well, all right, that's your opinion.
Regarding
Yes.
the illness, but
Yes.
maybe they have their reasons for that. But what I have found most useful is to accept the situation as it is.
Just give our viewers a sense of the earliest signs that you saw. You're a nurse.
Yes.
That you saw in the first time that you came across this illness in your family.
Yes. The very first time, and when I felt that there must be something wrong, was to see, like my son, who wanted school very much, deciding one day that he's not going to go to school at all. And instead he was going to do other things. For example, my son believed, and he still believes up to today, that he had invented a magnetic machine which was going to give energy and replace petrol energy, which means that all the vehicles, airlines, were going to use that energy that he was going to make use of. And he had a formula that he was just about to patent it. However, what was bad was that no matter how much I tried to tell him that this is a good thing, but maybe this is not the time for it, that you need to go to school, he would not see that. And instead, he will want to continue with it. He will want to ring people like in America, he would like to tell them, to warn them about the dangers that are going to come. And it was, I hope I have
You've
a
done
little bit.
you've done very well. In fact, what you've done is you have very well described what we call a delusion. A delusion here being a false belief that is not shakeable in the light of evidence to the contrary. So you've said that your son suffered from this particular false belief. Anything else about him that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yes, the idea of tidiness. He became very untidy all of a sudden. Somebody who was very tidy, ironing his own clothes, he just became uninterested in his looks, as it were, a young man. And what worried me very much was that at times he would come to my office he was at the Ministry of Health, looking very untidy. And as a mother, you feel you want to get hold of him and shake him, and but realizing that he was unwell, I just took it, and I have found that it is more of a battle which you cannot win when you try to tell someone you are dirty, go and wash, or your clothes are dirty, go and change them. And I remember one time he came back with dressed with the front back to back, and I said, well, maybe at that time I thought perhaps I was clever. I said, go back to the room and look at yourself in the mirror And he did, and he came back the same, you see.
It didn't strike him.
So I normally now know that what I do is I just say, well, you have put on your clothes back to front, let us change it. So we do it together. Otherwise, it won't bother at all.
It wouldn't bother him. That symptom that you have described in your son is what we call self-neglect or apathy, or with some measure of withdrawal. Okay, is there any other symptom that you'd like to share that you have experienced with?
Yes, of being very overactive, and by being overactive, I mean you go to the dining, to the kitchen, to the bathroom, upstairs, downstairs, out and back, days where we are very security conscious, he would go out and leave the door ajar, you see, and this was very, very worrying, because he was doing this in spite of the medication, and I had to go and see the doctor. And here, doctor, I must say that sometimes the doctors differ. One doctor said to me, "Oh, you just leave him, you know." And I said, "Leave him to walk back and forth, but this is abnormal. Just leave him." How? However, the other one said, "No, you give him this medication," and I tried that, and it helped.
Tell me, how did it make you feel, frankly speaking?
Frankly speaking, to begin with, I felt very, very bad. I asked myself, what have I done? I was guilty to begin with. Was I a bad mother? Did I do any bad parenting, or what is this? Then there was the shame. Oh, my son has got this. And then also the utter lack of understanding from my colleagues, for example. They, one time, they would call me aside and say, "Now look, Mrs. Kanai, your son is so untidy, he's going out like this. Can't you help him?" You know. And when I try to explain, they just want to blame me again and again. And you can imagine, you're already blaming yourself, and your friend who is supposed to support you in a better way is pushing it onto you again and again. But now I have learned how to respond to such people.
What do you tell them?
I will tell you one thing. I told somebody, said, "Ms. Kanaya, are you worried to see your son looking like that? And why did you let him be like that, you know?" And I just tell them, he's a human being, and as you can say, he's a grown-up. He's no longer on nappies or a 2-year-old, so that is how he likes his life, and all I can do is help him, you know, be himself.
Then another one.
Yes. The other one.
Yes.
The other one, frankly speaking, I would like to be very frank and say she has prohibited me to talk about her anywhere. So, so I won't like. But
That's
apart
wonderful.
from say that she's a very charming lady, very helpful, and she's very different from the son, meaning that she's very, very tidy. And
now you're talking about her and you're prohibited.
But I think, yeah, so she'll forgive me.
Well, you're her mother, so you should know.
Yeah,
yes.
she'll forgive me.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about how, when you got to ask the doctors, and we, the helping agencies, hospitals, now I can see you smiling already.
Yes.
Say some kind words, if you will.
Some kind words.
Well, say any words.
No, any words.
Yes.
Yes, that's a very good questions you have asked me. The best thing I learned from the doctors is that they very much depend on what I tell them about the patient, or about my son or my daughter or wherever I'm taking them. Whereas sometimes we as families, when you take someone to them, they think that you're going to look at the person
Are you saying doctors don't know everything?
And, well, at first I thought they knew everything, but I think there is a minor somewhere, and they need as much information as possible about the illness. They require a good history from the
I think the point that you're making, I can, as a doctor, can relate to, which is that sometimes we get patients coming to us, and you ask that if a relative would accompany them. They say, no, he's well enough, don't worry, we will not come. But in fact, it's very useful to hear what the mother or a husband or a wife has observed over the preceding period of time. Now, time is running out, and there are one or two things I really must ask you, including, for example, what kind of treatments have been given to either of your two children, and with what effect?
Oh, they have been on and off antipsychotics. And when I say, I didn't mean that there are times that they have been without medication from 1980, one from 1980, the other one from 1984. What I have found lacking, or what the doctors always push me, is that you must get something for them to do, you see, and which I have been trying, but it's very difficult. For example, one time I had asked my son to cut some grasses, and he just said he was sorry for the grass, so he wasn't going to do it.
He was sorry the grass might be, okay.